There's training videos on there. And if we don't train, then we don't really cut it in a sales industry. You have to know your market. You have to know the changes of the market. So get on there, get your training videos, watch them over and over again. They're there because where we want to set the platform up that you can be successful. Now, I cannot do the work for you. We're trying to make it as simple as possible, as easily accessible as possible, so that every rep can be successful, no matter if you're putting 5 hours in a week or 20 hours in a week. With the platform and the process that we're trying to put together here, everybody should be successful or make a really good income based on the tools that are available to you. That's why it's important to us to fill out that agreement form, because it allows us to feel comfortable with how much time that we're putting into training certain individuals. So we don't do one-offs. We don't accept, contracts from Joe, from another company just to submit them into and use our financing options. We exclusively want our financing options and our install team to be with our group only, so that our installs are not taking 6 months, 7 months, 8 months to install. So, but again, we want to make sure that you are committed to us just as we are committed to you. And certainly there's no question that we are definitely committed to our team. And if you need anything, whether residential or commercial, we will make it happen, or we will give it our best shot. And when I say best shot, I really mean we're going to give it everything to get it done. A good example would be Deshaun has been working with the Pittsburgh church, and it just got a little bit, hard in that respect, and non-communication. But we knew that there was that church wanted to go solar. So we had our executive sales commercial, Nathan, who's not on, he's on another call right now, step in, and he has bringing that, we'll probably get that up going and on that church by the end of this week. So we're really excited about that. So we are here for the team. Please no one feel like you're bugging when you're texting or calling or emailing. All of that is that's what we do. We're setting this platform up so that we are here available for everyone that needs help, guidance. Even in other states, there's a few that are not here from Texas that joined our team. And then of course, Florida, Mike in Florida. And we are putting together, just in Texas and Florida, an excellent canvassing team and solar team in those two states. So that's actually, we're ready to go on commercial in those states. On our residential, we're just a little bit behind on that, but commercial's really where the big bucks is anyways. So if you're in those states, commercial is excellent. We can execute commercial, and residential is just around the corner. So I'm very happy for all the new reps that have joined us. I've had a chance to meet with all of you actually individually. Thank you for choosing Solar Energy Plus. There's still a lot of work to do, but together we're going to do it, and we're going to do our best. I just have a couple of things to announce. We have new roofing options. Our roofing guy I talked to today, just great people. The connection was you just feel right about certain connections, and with our roofing company, they're ready to go. They're excited to work with our team. So if you have a project that does have a roofing condition, or you're a little bit concerned about that, this team will give you an excellent deal on a roof solar combo. So and that price is set for our team. So I'm really excited about that. And when you get a roofing situation, don't even worry about it. We'll take care of it, and our installation team is going to really work on that for us. You already talked about the new intake form. I cannot stress to you enough how important the intake form is. I understand that the process is not a traditional solar industry process, but the main thing when it comes to sales representatives, they are so good at selling. And sometimes when we get bogged down with the secretarial work of the sale, then things start slowing down. I don't want our sales reps to feel that they have to slow down when it comes to finding roof quotes, getting them submitted themselves, finding the, financing companies, and going through that whole, situation of frustration when it comes to the secretarial respect of the sales aspect of things. The sales reps, we want you to focus on the thing that you're excellent at, and that is sales. Just sell, sell, sell. Go into homes, meet people. I love it. Talking to people, that's where and when I get home and I got to thumb around with the computer, then things get a little bit different, in the back end of work. So the intake form is supposed to eliminate that responsibility to the most that we can. It won't entirely eliminate that responsibility. It will eliminate a lot of that responsibility and give it over to the TC coordinator. It was been in question that TC coordinator, the cost to use the TC coordinator is $250. If I took $250 and divided that over 25 years, it's probably going to be, well, not very much at all on a monthly payment. It's not a lot of money to get you back into the field of doing what you do, what is best. You'll make more if you're not fussing with the computer and financing companies. So if that makes sense. So please, that intake form is not an added task to you. That intake form is supposed to alleviate a lot of your job responsibilities. Once that intake form is filled out, it goes to that sales transaction coordinator. That transaction coordinators will be sitting with Terry Loftus and going between her, training from her to create proposals, leases, and whatever she's got going on, and our finance companies, and they're trained to give the best option forward, okay, based on everything that's on that intake form. So that's how important that intake form is. Now, we are working on currently to get that proposal turned around within 24 hours. And it looks like by today's meeting earlier this afternoon that we will have a solo software or platform that is going to help us to do that, or an open solar platform that will allow us to do that. So I don't want to overstress the intake form, but if you haven't seen it, it's available on the website. You're just clicking buttons and you're typing it in while you're talking to your customer. A lot of those questions are they spark a lot of conversations with your customer. Not only that, a lot of times when you leave the house, there's a question that pops up in the customer's mind that was left unanswered. So that intake form will cover everything. We thought about everything on that form that can possibly come into that customer's mind, and you'll be able to answer it while you're in the house. Don't leave the house with unanswered questions, because then it creates an uncertainty, and we don't want any of that. So that intake form is also a trigger point to allow conversations to come up that may pop in the customer's mind after you leave. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So that intake form is your friend when you are in a sales meeting. So any questions on that so far, what I've discussed? Everybody good on that? All right, so I'm going to move on if I don't get any responses. The commercial PPA, and I'm just going to touch on our commercial manager isn't on the call. I was hoping that his call would end, and so he can jump on and talk a little bit about our commercial opportunity. The commercial opportunity is we have the PPA funding, and we are directly funded. Okay, so if you're new to the solar industry, that might not mean much to you. On the solar industry, when we are not directly funded, there's always that uncertainty of getting paid. Our company is directly funded through the PPA. So we are controlling the construction loan from beginning to end financially on all of our commercial projects that go PPA. So you don't have to worry about putting in these projects and then something happening or whatever. That PPA does also work for churches. The stipulation on the PPA, because PPAs generally will have stipulations. We've got two PPA programs. One will allow us to do a 200 kilowatt or higher, just solar only. You can also add EV chargers into that PPA program. And you know how the PPA works. If you received your training videos on what PPA, commercial PPA is, if you have not, let me know and I'll get that training for you. It's not very long at all. So basically, a PPA is a third-party company is purchasing the entire sale of the project. They're purchasing the system, and the customer is paying a rate to the third-party financier. So the third-party financier is then becoming the utility company. So that's your PPA. We do have a PPA option that will go all the way down to a 50 kilowatt system. And that's for smaller churches that, that are just a lot smaller that need PPA funding. So we've got those two options and we can go all the way down to that. We also have a loan program that is excellent in 6.99% with 0 dealer fees on commercial projects for churches as well. So that's 6.99%, 0 dealer fees. If you compare that to somewhere with a 4.99% with a 25% dealer fee, it's a substantial difference in the overall cost. And that's the same thing that's happening with our residential side, where it's a 6.99 0% dealer fee. So we are able to get our customers a lot cheaper on the loan package. There's a cost to the savings and the savings to the customer that way. So that's actually the loan option for residential and commercial. Now, I don't want to get too much into the residential lease option because I'm going to pass that over to Terry, and she is going to talk about that. And then we have one of our TC coordinators that are on here today. Those TC coordinators, we will give you the information and their contact information so that when you're using your TC coordinator, you have all of their contact information and you can correspond with them moving further with your projects. Does anyone have any questions about the process? I want to make sure that the team understands how simple it is to move things along.
Yes, this is Kentrell. I just have one question. I heard you talk about, so with the PPA for the church, can you also install the battery? Is there a battery option with that as well?
PPAs tend to not like the battery option. And the reason why, because you're paying a lower rate.
Mm-hmm.
So that rate is fixed. So with or without the battery, you're only gonna pay that rate. So let me give you an example. In the East Valley Church, that's a 200 kilowatt system. And that is, they were paying 39 cents per kilowatt. So it's a lot of, they were being charged a lot. So it's about a $6,000 bill. The PPA came down to a 13-cent rate, which is a huge difference, right? So that made their bill to be around $800 a month. So to answer your question, we can add batteries, but it really doesn't, it almost doesn't make sense because the rate is the same on a PPA.
Okay.
Yeah, but there are some churches that, during power outages, there was question, will the church still be able to function and be used as a community service type thing? If that's, their goal and that's where they want to go, then we will definitely be able to add batteries to that.
I was only at M 3.0, but I remember we had talked about that. So yeah. Okay.
And the other thing, go ahead.
So also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but commercial is not like a net metering 3.0, right? So is that correct?
Correct, in the sense where it's called VNEM. So it's not until the end of the year. So commercial right now, the end of the year, we can only guarantee certain things. After next year, commercial, it may likely change. It may may stay the same. I'm not exactly sure. But according to the financing PPA company that I was just with on Tuesday night in a meeting, they are telling me that things are likely to change come January 1st. So if you have churches that are in you've got them on the loop, you got them, let's get them in as soon as we can, at least to sign a contract. And then we'll work things out later, but at least get them in this year so that we know we can say for sure that, there's a different type of things will change on January. The other thing, PPA does not qualify for the 30% tax direct pay. However, a lease option for commercial and a loan option does qualify for a 30% direct pay. So it's very much the same thing as the tax credit for the residential property. So for example, the East Valley Church, we presented them the PPA option, but we also presented them the loan option. And the reason why the loan option will give them that 30% direct pay, and the church will actually benefit over $258,000 incentive for going solar. On top of all of the savings already, they will get a $258,000 check.
Wow.
So yeah, churches, and it still qualifies if the church does a lease option. So, it's a really, really cool thing that's happening for churches right now. And I can honestly only guarantee it till the end of the year. And I'll let you know if things change as soon as I find out. Any other questions on commercial?
The other thing to mention is because the motivating factor from one church to another might be different. So we have a church in Antioch that their main motivating factor is they don't have money and their roof is in very bad shape. So it's like $60,000 to install the roof, and that church does not have $60,000. So instead, they're getting solar and getting it financed with the solar. So there's different ways of really benefiting our clients.
Yeah, but commercial right now is the market to be in. It's huge market. The commissions on it are huge. Now the commissions work on a 70-30 split. But when you think about a 70% of a 200 kilowatt system, and you determine what you're selling the system on, it's a lot. It's great. You can close 1 or 2 a year and you'll be good.
What's the average? What's the average per watt as far as the cents? Like, is it like 30 cents? That's what I hear.
From hotels to churches. So specifically to churches, we've got ours around a 60 cent. And now again, if they're going lease, just like residential lease, that you make more money when you're doing a lease option. There's more there than when you're doing a loan option. So I would say comfortably between 30 to 70 cents on a commercial project is great. Now, again, we are packaging, the installation is excellent. The financing terms are excellent. So bringing in a commercial deal and expecting a commission to be between 30 to 70 cents is perfectly within I think right now our East Valley project is a 50 cents. And
wow.
it's a 50 cent on a 200 kilowatt.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
It's excellent. They're getting the EV charging, 6 EV charging ports, so it's great. And that's
another selling point, our EV chargers. I know we mentioned this on our last sales meeting, but there's not a lot of companies that install EV chargers, and the ones that do, they are gouging the market. So we got a quote for that same property to install the EV chargers, and the quote was 1.5 million. Okay, we are getting the exact same thing installed for 350,000. Okay, so that's just, we have some great partnerships that allows us, we've talked about in times past about, we have some distinctions that allows us to compete and to really set us up in comparison to a competitor. So we're in a good spot.
Mm-hmm. So in the $350,000 for three now, and those are charge ports. So if you know anything about commercial and EV charging, ChargePort is the tier 1 top of the line charging stations. Now they're coming out with a lot of different calibers of charging stations. But Charging Point is a top of the line charging point, and that was $350,000. You can add, if you're selling just chargers, you can add to that, because again, we had it quoted and estimated at a 1.5 million, just as you said. I almost fell out of my seat when we were offering our customer only $350,000 for it. And that's because it was a church and things like that. So we just passed on the cost of the equipment, and the solar team, the installation team is going to just, install them, because they are already, the same team is doing the solar project. So there's a lot of costs. There's a lot of savings to your customers that are from churches. I mean, and if there's a way for you to convey that to your customer, to your church, it just doesn't make sense for the church to not go solar with us technically. So I'll give you I'll give you another example, because I know some of you are really wanting to go into this commercial market. So coupled with an EV charging station, the EV charging stations that have the credit cards that they pay, when those are within 1 mile of the freeway, those are projected. Now this changes in certain areas, but generally, if you're in 1 mile of the freeway or you're in a very populated area, you can the church could expect at a minimum of $36,000 income a year from the charging stations. Okay, so if you couple that with the savings from the solar system, and let's say that their solar system is, there's a savings there, but their bill is still $2,000 a month, right, to pay the solar system. Well, the $36,000 a year now gets applied to, it pays off the bill, the electricity bill. So they didn't really bring their bill down. They got rid of the bill when it is coupled with an EV charging stations. Does that make sense? Because the charging stations, if their bill came down to $2,000 a month, 2,000 times 12 months is 24,000. They still have a debt of $24,000. But coupled with that charging station that's at a $36,000 very conservative income, that paid off the $24,000. All of the tithe, all of the offerings that they get weekly doesn't have to go to pay the expense of the electricity anymore. It goes to missions. It's going to a Bible school overseas, or it's going to a remodel in the church. So for churches, it's huge, huge, huge. So if you got them, reach out to your churches and let's get some appointments set so we can have some fun and sell some solar on some churches. Any questions about that? Okay, the process is still the same with commercial. Get your intake form out, and you will use that intake form to generate a proposal for your commercial project. It says that simple. It's really not complicated at all to do that. I mean, some of you are probably only a week away from getting a church and really just making an appointment and presenting it. Now, that brings me to this. We have designed presentations for churches. So you don't have to go in there and feel like, all I have is a pencil and scratch paper. We have a presentation that when you go to your church or when you go to some commercial project, you can flip the screen on your phone and we will design it tailored to that commercial building. And that's pretty much what I did on Tuesday night. I had 10 screens and I flipped through it, and it was just a great time. So that is already templated. So if you have a commercial project, we can add it. We can give you the presentation so that you can go and use that for your presentations on your churches or commercial buildings. Everything is already marketed and done. If you needed it all in Spanish, we would convert it all into Spanish. Very, very easy, and we would have it for you. So to make everything that you do more efficient or more successful or impactful, so that you're able to get that sale. Everybody good? Any questions? How many are excited about that? Right? Am I the only one? Everyone's phone is on mute, but I'm excited that we have the option to do residential and commercial and churches, nonprofit organizations, whether it's a loan, a PPA, and it looks like we'll add a lease into that. So this is huge. This is huge. All right, I'm done. I'm gonna move forward now. All of the residential ones who don't work it, if you know your commercial, I mean, even if it's an auto body shop, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's an auto body shop and you got your a little store, we will try our best to make it work in the financing for even on that it's not a church. All righty, I am going to pass this over to Mrs. Terry Loftus, and Adam gave the correct introduction of her. We're so glad to have her. I can't thank God enough for her. So she is going to come in and do what she does, and I cannot even capitalize on how amazing it is. She is. So you go ahead and take over, Terry.
Yeah. Well, gosh, I want to hurry so we can all sell some commercial jobs. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to be here with your team. Thank you so much for the opportunity to serve you. I'm thrilled. I love solar, and I think the greatest thing for me is helping the people when they go solar. So when you're helping residential customers go solar, sometimes it doesn't financially make sense for them because they can't take that tax credit. And that's where a lease really would benefit them. By the way, can you hear me okay? Is it okay? Okay. All right, good. I'm not sitting close to my computer, so I didn't know. Okay, so when you're helping somebody with a lease, sometimes elderly person does not have any type of tax credit appetite, but yet their electric bills keep going up. So in one of the utilities, PG&E, if you look at their rates right now, I think over the last year, their rates have changed 7 times, and they're expecting a giant rate hike, as you know. One of the other utilities that's in California raised their rates 10% a year for 10 years, and the older generation can't keep up with that, right? So they either have to give up food or clothing or medicine. And when you help them to go solar, if they don't have a tax credit appetite or they don't need a tax credit, when they're financing it, as you know, the monthly payment starts out low, but in month 18, it'll jump up if they don't apply that huge tax credit amount. And so sometimes that'll push it higher than the current electric bill in some utilities. So it's harder for those people to be able to make solar make sense, but that's a community that really, really needs help. And so I've offered solar for almost 17 years now. And when that product came out for leasing, it really changed the landscape for the people that are going into retirement. And I've had it where I've helped them go solar, and they've seen me on the street and they've grabbed me and screamed and hugged me, and other people have kissed my face, both husband and wife. And one guy lifted me off the ground to kiss me on the cheek. I was just so excited. And gosh, I'm going to cry about it right now because it just, I've helped so many people to be able to go solar that didn't have that ability before. So when you're presenting your opportunity for commercial to go solar, those people in that congregation, they want to go solar too. And they want to go solar with somebody that they like and they trust. And if their church has chosen you as the representative, they can have that confidence that you're going to do the right thing and you're going to help them. So whether it's the residential financing that you currently have, or whether it's through a lease product, either way, you'd be able to help them. The nice thing about leasing, if you haven't done that before, is, as I mentioned, if they don't need a tax credit, they get a fixed monthly payment, or they get a fixed monthly payment with a small increase, an annual increase. So maybe it's a 0% annual increase where the payment never changes, or it goes up 2.4, 2.9. So we could cover that in a training of how to know which way works the best, but they could have a fixed monthly payment for the rest of their life. The other nice thing about leasing is there is no upfront cost, there is no money out of pocket, and there is no loan attached to it. So that means when you're doing a credit check for a loan, they're taking out a loan for 30,000, 40,000, 60,000, whatever it might be. On a lease, they're not taking out a loan. They're basically, it's almost as if they're switching utility providers from the PG&E as the main provider over to the lease product. And so they don't have to come up with any money up front. They just have to pass credit. There is no debt that they're going to incur. It's just now somebody else is purchasing the solar for them, and they're making that monthly payment cheaper than their current electric bill. There's no upfront payment due at month 18, so they don't have to worry about coming up with any money. It is immediate savings. So if they're saving money right away, you know, when the solar is installed, because there's no money up front, there was no investment, like day one, they are saving money. You're the hero, right? The other thing is the monitoring, maintenance, and insurance is all covered from someone else. So if something goes wrong with the solar, the customer isn't calling the inverter manufacturer or the solar installer or the panel manufacturer. They've got one call to make. So if anything happens with the solar, it's not their responsibility, it's another company. So if something happened, goodness, let's hope nothing terrible happened. But if something did happen and, you know, a tree fell on it or something, that's not their concern, right? Of course, they want it fixed as fast as possible because they want to save that money. But again, there's no warranty work that has to be done. They're not paying for labor or anything like that. A lot of times there's guarantees with it where it's going to produce a certain amount of money, or they're not paying part of it. So there's some benefits to them with that. A lot of times, when they sell the property, the new homeowner can take over the lease, so they don't have to worry about paying off the lease if they didn't want to. So it's if they were purchasing it and they needed to pay off the solar. In this case, they don't. The new homeowner can just take over the lease product. Those are the highlights of the lease. There's a lot of benefit to it because they can also, on the residential, it does make sense to get a battery with the lease product because they are there at night. You know, sometimes the church might not be there all night running their refrigerator or 2 freezers in the garage, but a residential customer would be using that power. So with leasing, you are able to put a battery backup onto the solar. So those are some of the highlights for the leasing product. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Nope, that's it. Okay. I'm just so grateful to be here. You know, Isabel and has worked so hard to be able to, you know, make sure that everything's dialed in with the financing and the products. And, you know, I know Adam's contributed a lot to make sure that you guys have everything that you need. And I've seen a lot of solar companies. I've worked a lot of places, and every time I talk to Isabel, I'm like, wow, you guys have going on. Oh my God. I'm saying, you know, what did I do to join your team? Oh my word. I meant to just be in your shoes, like to just be a consultant. So I'm really excited for you. You just happen to find a great place to be, and I'm excited to be part of it too. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Now, and the lease is the same as, you know, filling out the intake form. So you'll fill out the intake form the same, and the system is going to be designed to, the system is going to be designed to, lost my train of thought just a minute when somebody walked in the door. The system will be designed for the benefit of the customer. Okay, so that's basically the culture of while we're getting onto the subject, is the culture of, first, we got to take care of our customers. Once we're taking care of the customer, then we will, you know, move commissions around and things. Trust me, we have designed the back end to take care of the commission and be done very, very good. So you're gonna make great no matter what. You don't have to ever sacrifice your commission for the customer. You know, that it's a good balance. So even in a lease option, you know, just fill out the intake form, fill out all your desired income, your desired commission, because it's on there on the intake form, and then that will be designed and tailored to fit that customer, and then the sales rep's expectations.
Something about on that intake form, something about the monthly payment. The interesting thing about a lease is that somebody else is buying the solar for the customer. And so when they're designing it, they're going to want the best production of where the panels are at. And sometimes to have a lower upfront payment, you want to, you know, if it's on that intake form, if they have a 2.9% annual increase where it's just going up, you know, a penny or two a year, if it's asking you that on the form, the lower the annual increase, so 0 would mean a little bit higher payment, and then the annual increase of 2.9 would be the absolute lowest payment that the customer would have. Isabel, does it ask that on the intake form? What
I was taking notes. I was taking notes, and I'll have you review the intake form, and whatever we can add, that way it's almost like a one touch by the sales agent. Whatever information, we'll adjust it so it has all the information needed on that. So perfect. So good,
Okay,
good.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Anybody else? Gloria, anything? We're so glad you joined. Ken Trow, so glad you joined. And then Mike, all the way from Florida.
No.
I think over there it's already close to 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah, it's 4 minutes till 10.
Oh wow. Okay, so glad you joined. And this goes to anybody, anything y'all need, please, Isabel and I, and we work every day. How can we make the company better every single day? And we see the measure of success is pretty much a sales team. Just you know, our success is tied with everybody, every sales team, everybody on the sales team. So great. Gloria, were you going to say something? I'm sorry. Did I cut you off?
No, everything is good. Thank you.
Okay. Glad you're on the team. All right.
Thank you.
Isabel, do you have anything, Isabel, or are we going to call
No,
it?
I don't have anything to say. I'm just excited for the team, and remember that you know, utilize all of the support that you have. I hope that, you know, there's nowhere else to go that will give you more support. Utilize the Facebook, utilize the website. If you're interested in landing pages, let us know. We will market those. We're planning on doing huge marketing in the social media world. So learn to sell virtually. Like in times like this where it's cold, you're not door knocking. Virtually is huge. So so the individual that is doing our marketing, they will set up your Yelp page for you in a professional look. They'll set up your, you know, Google ads or whatever it is, and it's very, very inexpensive. They're not costing, you know, over $1,000 to get this done like they do on, you know, Angie's leads that are, you know, $1,500 and that sort of thing. There's free Yelp pages that you can make it really nice, professional, and it'll work. And then use at your discretion on how much do you want to spend into marketing. So all of that is available. I mean, you're technically getting into a business that's going to make you a lot of money with nothing down. Most businesses, you got to start with at least 10,000, 20,000 to start generating the revenue that you have the potential to generate. So this is huge. So take advantage of all of that's there. Even if you're in another state, we'll support you. We will, you know, make it happen. So that's all I want to say. I just wanted to reiterate that because I do really feel like when this curve of the new year comes around, there's a projected of 80% fallout in the solar industry. But we haven't even felt that at all. in the Solar Energy Plus. We're growing right through it. So, stay, driven, stay excited about solar, even when we're reading the horrible news about increases in rate increases. It's really helping us to really get into the market and make a difference and make the income that we really want to make. So let's stay together. Let's communicate throughout the week. Text me, text my husband, text them, everybody. Text everybody you see here on the phone. Whatever it is, when you need some sort of motivation or you want a door knocking team, and you're in the Modesto area, and we will connect you with several other sales team that are on here that are in that same area that will help, go out and door knock with you into flea markets or wherever. We'll create the environment or the plan to company together and pull together and do some really nice, really fun activities together, but also generating leads. How many of you are excited? I need to hear some excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All righty. So that's it for me. If anyone has anything to say, maybe you want to share your excitement, Kentrell, or Juan. You've been so quiet over there, Anthony. I know Anthony is a loan officer. He's a really, really good sales. I'm pretty positive he's got something to say.
Hey,